Have you ever paused before biting into a piece of meat and asked yourself, is this really halal? Not just because it's labeled that way, but truly halal, in the eyes of Allah. In today's world, where technology has crept into every part of our lives, even slaughtering animals has been mechanized. Machines now do what humans once did with solemnity, intention, and the sacred utterance of Allah's name. But the question remains, is it enough for a machine to slaughter an animal while a recorded Bismillah plays in the background? Or is there something far deeper at stake here? Something that could impact not just your body, but your soul. In Islam, what we consume isn't just about taste or nutrition. It's an act of worship. Our food choices have spiritual consequences. And among all the types of food, meat occupies a very sensitive place. Vegetables, fruits, grains, seafood, all of these are generally halal with minimal concern. But meat, that's where the scrutiny intensifies. Because meat involves a soul, a life that had to be taken. And Allah has laid down clear, specific guidelines for how that life must be taken. Guidelines we cannot afford to ignore. There are 3 essential conditions for meat to be halal. First, the animal itself must be one that is lawful to consume. That excludes pigs, predators like lions, tigers, leopards, and birds of prey such as hawks and eagles. We also do not eat domestic donkeys or cats. Halal meat includes livestock, camels, cows, sheep, goats, buffalo, and game that is hunted like deer, rabbits, and so on, provided it's hunted in the proper Islamic manner. Second, the slaughter itself must be done while mentioning the name of Allah, the blessed. Phrase Bismillah Allahu Akbar. This is not just a formality. It is a declaration of divine permission, a moment of remembrance, in which the Muslim affirms that life and death belong to Allah alone. Third, the slaughter must be carried out by a Muslim, or a believer from the people of the book, a Jew, or a Christian, under the right conditions. If the slaughterer is an atheist, idol worshipper, or anyone outside these 3, then the meat is not permissible. Now here's the modern dilemma. In many countries, including Australia, Muslims operate meat shops that sell meat slaughtered by machines. These machines are often programmed to play a recorded Bismillah, while the knives mechanically execute the slaughter. From a business perspective, it's efficient. You save time. Time equals money. But from a fiqh perspective, the jurisprudence of Islam, we must ask, is this valid? Here's the core issue. If a Muslim stands before the machine, says Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and presses the button, and in that moment, 100 chickens are slaughtered instantly, then yes, those 100 chickens are halal. Why? Because the Muslim intentionally said Bismillah and performed the slaughter by pressing the button in a one-time direct action. That's comparable to manually slaughtering each one. But what if the Muslim presses the button at 9 a.m., says Bismillah once, and then the machine continues to operate for hours, slaughtering hundreds or thousands more, while the person walks away or reads a magazine? That's where the line is crossed. Those animals are not being slaughtered by a Muslim in the act of remembrance. The machine has taken over. The Bismillah was not repeated. And according to many scholars, that meat is not halal, it's mata, dead meat. This is not a minor issue. It has been discussed and debated by respected scholars across the globe. Some argue that if the operator intends the Bismillah to cover a batch and remains present, the slaughter may be valid. Others maintain that every act of slaughter requires a fresh Bismillah because the command in the Quran is clear. Do not eat of that upon which Allah's name has not been mentioned. The gravity of this discussion goes beyond scholarly debate. It reaches into your dinner table, into your family meals, into the food you serve your children, into the du'as you make and the ibadah you perform. Because what we consume nourishes not just our bodies but our souls. Take Australia as a case study, a country where many Muslims live, work, and shop. There are meat shops run by Muslims, yet the meat they sell may have come from large processing facilities, where chickens and cattle are slaughtered by machines. The Bismillah is played over speakers. The Muslim staff may not even be present during every cycle of slaughter. If you walk into such a shop, what do? Do you automatically assume the meat is halal, just because Muslims are selling it, or do you ask questions? According to the scholars, you're not obliged to investigate every detail, unless you have solid reason to doubt. But once you know that machine slaughter is happening without Bismillah said on each animal, your responsibility changes. Let's be crystal clear. Playing a recording of Bismillah Allahu Akbar does not count as proper dhikr for slaughter. Why? Because remembrance of Allah is an act of worship. And acts of worship must be performed by a conscious human being, not by a recording. Saying Bismillah is not just a sound. It is an intention, a conscious act, and a connection. To Allah, a machine has no intention. A machine has no heart. A recording has no soul. And Allah has not instructed us to substitute our worship with automation. The Prophet Muhammad did not teach us this. The early generations did not allow this. And we should not normalize it today, in the name of convenience or profit. Now here's the question many people struggle with. What if I don't know whether the meat was slaughtered properly? What if I'm unsure? In that case, Islam gives you a principle. The default ruling is permissibility, as long as there's no clear evidence to the contrary. If you're in a Muslim country, or dealing with a Muslim vendor, who says the meat is halal, you may accept that, unless you know otherwise. But if you've already heard or confirmed that the meat comes from a source using impermissible methods, like unsupervised machine slaughter, you are now required to avoid it. It's not just about legal rulings. It's about spiritual purity. The Prophet Muhammad warned us that one of the reasons du'as are not accepted is because people consume haram. He described a man on a journey, raising his hands to the sky, calling out Ya Rab, Ya Rab. But his clothes were bought with haram, his body was nourished with haram, and his sustenance was haram. How can his dua be answered? The Prophet asked. So yes, what we eat matters, not just because of health, but because of our connection with Allah. Eating meat that is questionable or impermissible not only affects our body, it affects our barakah, our spiritual clarity, and our access to Allah's mercy. Dear brothers and sisters, the next time you walk into a store or restaurant, don't be afraid to ask, where did this meat come from? Was it slaughtered by a human who said Bismillah? These questions are not rude. They are acts of taqwa. They show that your heart is alive, that you care about what enters your body, that you understand the sacred trust Allah has given you over what you consume. Let the ease and convenience of this world make you forget the commands of your Lord, because the one who strives to obey Allah in even the smallest matters, like what they eat, will find Allah guiding them in the biggest matters, like what they become. If this video opened your eyes and heart to the deeper realities of what you eat, don't stop here. Share this message. Educate others. And if you're someone who loves learning about your deen in practical, powerful ways, subscribe now to Islamic Echoes. We bring you the kind of knowledge that doesn't just inform your mind, but transforms your soul. Hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, live consciously for the sake of Arabic. Every choice you make echoes into eternity.